Hello everyone, we are on now to lesson 4 in our green book, and that's on page 428. The title of the lesson is Squares, Cubes, and Square Roots. The first part of the lesson talks about finding squares and cubes. An exponent tells you how many times a number is to be multiplied by itself. In the expression 7 times 7, you multiply 7 times itself. Another way to write this expression is 7 with an exponent of 2. The 7 is the base number of the expression, and the 2 is the exponent. They show this to us again over here next to the paragraph. 7 is the base number. Remember, that's the number being multiplied by itself. And we see an exponent of 2. The exponent is usually written in the top right corner. It's a smaller number, again written in the top right corner of the base number. So 7 squared means 7 times 7. The expression 7 squared can be read 7 to the second power, or 7 squared. The square of 7 is 49 because, again, we have a base number of 7 and we're multiplying 7 by itself. So 7 times 7 is 49. The value of the expression 7 squared, or 7 to the second power, equals 49. A number is cubed when the number is multiplied by itself 3 times. Again, so when we see cubed, we have to remember that means 3 times. When we see squared, we know that the power, or the exponent, is a 2. So back down here, using an exponent, 4 cubed is written as 4 to the third power. The expression 4 to the third power means 4 times 4 times 4. So remember, when we saw squared before, the number was being multiplied by itself. So we saw it 2 times. But when we see the word cubed, we know that means to the third power. So the number is being multiplied by itself 3 times. They give us an example here. Find the value of the expression 4 cubed. And they broke it down into 2 steps. The first step says multiply 4 times 4. And step 2 says multiply the product from step 1 by 4. Remember, 4 times 4 is only 4 squared. And that's not what we're looking for. But it is step 1. Once I know the product, remember the product is an answer to a multiplication problem. Once I know the product of 4 times 4, which is 16, I take that product and I multiply again by 4. Now I've multiplied 4 by itself 3 times. So 16 times 4 equals 64. So here they've written it for us. The value of the expression 4 cubed is 64. Remember to go over the tip in the lessons. These tips are very helpful clues or hints about the key parts of the lesson. It says here to find the value of a number with an exponent, write the expression as a multiplication problem, and then multiply. So again, 4 cubed, which is the same as the example we just went over, would equal 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. When we talk about finding square roots, this is the opposite of squares and cubes. This is where we are going to have to figure out the base number that we multiplied by itself. Okay? Before we were looking for the value, right? The answer when we multiplied a number by itself. Now we're looking for that base number. What did we multiply by itself? Okay? To find the square of a number, you multiply that number by itself. To find the square root of a number, you have to think the opposite. What number squared equals this number? And there's a symbol for it. The symbol for square root looks like this. It would be helpful to get used to writing this, get familiar with writing it, or just become familiar with what it looks like so that when you see it, you know that it means square root. So here in our example, what is the square root of 36? Think of what number squared equals 36. You're going to write it in square root notation. So, remember before, when we square a number, such, for example, 6 squared, we know that means 6 times 6. The value is 36. In this problem, though, they want us to find the square root using the square root notation, using that symbol. So we would write the square root of 36, and I'd have to ask myself, what number, when I multiply by itself, gives me 36? And remember, I told you they're opposites. So 6 would be the answer here for the square root of 36. It's the base. When I multiply it by itself, I get 36. We have a little note here on how to do this on the calculator. If you remember, we were using the TI 30XS calculator in class. If you don't have one of these at home, maybe you have another calculator or even the calculator on your smartphone, should have a square root symbol on it. Most of them do, I believe. So on our calculators, it describes what to do. Some calculators assign 2 functions to the same key. Press the second key to use the second function of a key. And I'll explain I'll show you what that means on the actual calculator. To find the square root of a number, enter the number, press second, and press x squared. You will see the square root symbol above the x squared key. Okay, so here's an example. It says find the square root of 3,136 using a calculator. And it gives you each key that you're supposed to enter on the calculator. We're going to clear our calculator first. That's the first step. Clear it. Then we're going to press the second key because we want a function that is green. So we would click on this green second key in order to use the square root on this calculator. So we clicked second, we're going to click on x squared because that's where the square root is. And we're going to enter 3,136 and press enter. And you see it gives us the answer, 56. So again, the square root of 3,136 equals 56. Remember, this is a base number. That means 56 times 56 gives me this value, 3,136. Okay. On the next page, page 429, you see some practice. There are 3 sections, A, B, and C. In the first section, you have to write each expression as a multiplication problem and then multiply. The first one is done for you. You see 6 cubed. 6 times 6 times 6. So again, you take, just like step 1 on the previous page, in the first example that we did, they broke it into 2 steps. So remember, step 1, multiply the number by itself 1 time first. So again, 6 times 6, 36. Then take that product from 6 times 6 and multiply by 6 again. So 36 times 6 is 216. So that's how you would show your work for the next 3 problems. Okay, as a multiplication problem first and then multiply again. All right, part B says refer to the table below to find the value of each expression. It would be very helpful to memorize, if you haven't already, the first 10 squares. So from 1 squared down to 10 squared. Okay. And the reason for that is because it'll make solving some of these problems a lot easier for you. There is also a way to solve square root problems without using a calculator. I will be sending you a link to a video that I watched that taught me how to solve it without a calculator, how to solve square root problems without a calculator. So I will send you that link that teaches you how to do that step by step. It's a great video. Okay, so for numbers 5 through 16, you are either finding the value of a squared number or a cubed number, or you are finding the base number. So again, the square root of a number. Okay, and use the table to help you figure out the answers. C, find the value of the expressions below using a calculator and refer to the calculator overview for additional information. You only need to do this really if you are using the TI-30XS. If you are not, don't worry about this. Again, on your phone, if you are familiar with the calculator on your phone, you go ahead and use the squared function or cubed function. And you don't have any cubed here, actually, it's just squared for the first part for 17. And then for 18, you are just finding the square root of the numbers. Okay? Again, complete the page, please. Send me a picture on Remind when you are done so I can give you credit for it. Okay? Thank you. Bye.